Hi there, welcome to the Channel G. This is my first broadcast, and I'd like to open up with a quote from Adrian Rogers, who said, "You cannot legislate the poor into prosperity by legislating the wealthy out of prosperity. What one person receives without working for, another person must work for without receiving. The government cannot give to anybody anything that the government did not first take from somebody else. And when half of the people get the idea that they do not have to work because the other half is going to take care of them, and when the other half gets the idea that it does no good to work because somebody else is going to get what they work for, that, my dear friend," he says, "is the beginning of the end of any nation. You cannot multiply wealth by dividing it." And I grew up in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia. I watched a beautiful country that was run by white minority rule. Yes, that's true, but the country was well run and it was a beautiful country. In 1980, it was taken over by Robert Mugabe, who many people have heard of, a tyrant, a despot, a megalomaniac, and many, many other horrible, horrible things that he was and still is. He took the country over in 1980 and he destroyed it. He took land away from farmers who knew how to farm before he taught people how to farm. He gave land, that same land he gave to people that were interested more in subsistence farming than in commercial farming. And the country, which had once been a powerhouse and it was once called the breadbasket of Africa, declined into nothingness. And today it is a country that is very reliant on outside aid and whose people starve on a regular basis. I'm very sad. My heart is in Africa sometimes. They had elections yesterday, and I'm wondering what the results will be. Whether they will change or whether the elections will be rigged again remains to be seen. But that is one thing that I really know for a fact, is that communism was responsible for the death of Zimbabwe. And communism is responsible for the continuous decline of South Africa. In 1994, the ANC took over from the white minority rule. In 1994, they had free and fair elections. The ANC under Nelson Mandela came to power, and they have followed truthfully in the steps of Zimbabwe. And today they are on the brink of doing land confiscations. And South Africa was once a powerful, powerful country, and is now no longer a powerful, powerful country. The land reforms over there, which, as I say, are on the brink of happening, there are, at this particular moment, many, many, excuse me, white farmers that are dying, and they are being massacred in the name of land reform without compensation. This is what happened in Zimbabwe. This is happening now in South Africa as we speak. Whether it's official or not is another story, but it's happening, whether we like it or not. And the white farmers are being massacred. The world is not doing anything about it. They're not saying anything about it because really South Africa doesn't matter. The South African politicians think that they're such wonderful people and that they, the world looks up to them. But they've become a laughing stock over the years, and they've made some terrible, terrible decisions. anyway, that's not the reason that I actually wanted to bring this up. I live in Israel. I've seen socialism at work in Israel on kibbutz. It did work, and it was used as an example of the only place where socialism actually worked. But that is no longer true. Kibbutz in Israel is no longer a socialist thing, and socialism does not work there either. Socialism does not work. I'm not going to go into why socialism doesn't work here or on kibbutz, but it doesn't, and that's something for a future program. But as I say, socialism doesn't work, and Israel is very dependent on America and American help, and I'm very supportive of President Trump because he has kept promises that were made by the American government many years ago to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Jerusalem's always been the capital of Israel. It's not like he did anything aside from recognizing the truth and stating it for everyone to hear. So, he didn't really do anything. He moved the embassy, okay. The American, I can't remember if it was under Bush or Carter or maybe even Reagan that they, anyway, it's not really important at all. But what I do see happening now, people like Bernie Sanders and what's her name, the new girl on the block, Occasio-Cortez, they're talking about socialism and socialist policies in the States, and quite frankly, I'm shocked. After all that's happened in the world, they want to do this kind of thing to America, a country that was built on capitalism. They want to take that away and start with socialism. I'm very, very shocked. And all I can say is that people actually seem not to understand what socialism is. Maybe the up-and-coming generation are ignorant and they think that they can just be entitled, because that's what socialism is. Socialism is entitlement. I am entitled, I'm okay, and you owe me, and you owe me, and this is the whole thing with white entitlement, white supremacy. What is the word that's used? Anyway, there are a whole lot of movements that are based on making whites guilty for what they are. White privilege, that's the word, that's what I was looking for. White privilege. What is white privilege? Whites are to blame for what? Whites are privileged? How? Whites are people. And unfortunately, what the left is now saying is that everybody is in the position that he is because the whites are privileged. It doesn't quite make sense. Gays, because they are victims, and a society of victims. It's a society of victims. Take control, America. Take control of your lives. I'm struggling, and I'm very nervous. I'm very, very nervous. Israel relies a lot on America, and Nikki Haley has been an outspoken critic of the UN, which for many, many, many years has just been a rubber stamp for OPEC and the Arab nations to beat Israel over the head every 5 minutes. There is no place in the world other than the United Nations where they have an agenda, a permanent feature on the agenda of bashing Israel. Why? Israel's such a bad place. How many of them have actually been here? How many of them actually came to see for themselves? I don't believe that there are that many. As I say, I support President Trump. I'm very pleased what he's done. I am very proud of Nikki Haley and the rest of his team that are standing up to the bigotry and hypocrisy that is happening all over the world. I look at someone like Bernie Sanders. He's a wealthy man. I think he lives in a nice big house, and he's probably got walls around it and gates and security. I know for a fact, I think that Maxine Waters does too, and so does Hillary Clinton and many of those other people. They would tell you that you're not allowed to do that. Donald Trump is a capitalist. I'm okay with him living in a big house because he's earned it. And, but people that say, I shouldn't have a big house and I should give my money to someone else, or I should use my taxes to pay for someone else, or for illegal immigrants. I mean, for goodness sakes, illegal immigrants, they're illegal. Hello? And all this story about separating illegal immigrants from their kids. I mean, what bullshit. Excuse my French, but really, if a person commits a crime, or a woman commits a crime, or a man commits a crime, and they get convicted and they go to jail, hello, they don't take their kids with them. I mean, really, let's get real. Illegals come into the country, if they come in with their kids or they don't come in with their kids. You can't send kids to jail, but parents can go. So let's not have that. I mean, that's real nonsense. This whole story, just anything to victimize, to beat Trump over the head. I mean, and it was Obama that started it all, I think. It certainly was much worse under him. But of course, that's ignored by many people. Anyway, whatever the case is, socialism in America does not work. Not at all. It's never worked. No way. Get real. And don't think that it's going to make you better off to vote that route. Don't vote for socialism. Simple. Thank you very much.